Hi guys, I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture.
And I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, except, it's April Fool's, you stupid bloody idiots who definitely all fell for that gag. Anyway, today I'm going to tell you the real reason Triple H isn't wrestling at WrestleMania. I'm going to tell you all about this week's AEW Dynamite tapings going down at a top secret location. And Raw's rating this week was, well, a bag of piss.
Plus, I'm going to tell you the real reason Kairi Sane hasn't been on your screens recently, the real reason Montez 4 did that ridiculous bump on Monday Night Raw, and the first 4 competitors in the AEW TNT Championship Tournament. This is the news.
We're going to kick things off with Triple H. This is the first WrestleMania in 13 years where Paul, whatever you want to call him, hasn't had a goddamn match. Breaks a long streak. It has come to an end. Last match was obviously Batista last year. He's not on this year's card. And he told you why. Via an interview with ESPN SportsCenter, he said that he's not working Mania and he's okay with it because it simply would have been too much for him to handle. He's a very busy man with his corporate responsibilities and he couldn't juggle that, plus preparing for a wrestling match, plus everything else that's going on in this crazy dumpster fire of a world at the moment. So he's sitting this one out. He's taking the bench and he has no problem doing that, which is all very fair and well. Can't disagree with a single word of that. It's obviously his personal experience anyway, so why would you disagree? But it'll be interesting seeing a WrestleMania that doesn't have a Triple H match. He likes these long, drawn-out 20, 30, sometimes stretching towards 40-minuters. They often aren't the most exciting things in the world. Sometimes they rule. It's been a while, though. I don't think too many people are complaining about him not being on the card, put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, this year's card, as we've mentioned a million times, is the most surreal thing we've ever seen. But thank God that there isn't a 45-minute Triple H match, not including entrances. It wouldn't have made a lot of sense, really, having him on this card before all the ongoing situation in the world happened. I know some people who were speculating ahead of WrestleMania months and months ago that he could have some sort of match against some NXT talent to get them over, but there are other better ways, in my opinion, to get NXT talent over, and no one was really crying out for a Triple H match. And like he said, he's a busy man.
Yeah, he's got a lot on his plate, baby. Demotion or no demotion, the man's got a lot to do, and the situation going on around the world obviously makes him even busier. And also, there just really wasn't a storyline for him this year, so I think it's all worked out very well. I don't think we've seen the last of Triple H in the ring by any means, but for this year, cool.
Right, let's move on and talk about one half of the second best women's tag team champions ever, and I'm not talking about Sasha Banks and Bayley being number one there, of course. Kairi Sane, she hasn't been on our screens for absolutely ages. The whole build to this women's tag team championships match between the Kabuki Warriors and Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross has all been sort of carried by Asuka. And if you're wondering where Kairi Sane has been, do not worry. She's not been injured or anything like that. She was speaking on a recent episode of Wrestling Observer Radio, revealing that she had some time off to do something lovely. She went away and married her partner in February. WWE officials just let her have that time off and assumed, actually, she wouldn't be back in time for this year's WrestleMania tapings. The good news, she did get back. That match has been filmed. That match will go out this weekend. The Kabuki Warriors, as I said, versus Alexa and Nikki. We last saw Kairi Sane in a match alongside Asuka near the beginning of March, and they last defended those tag team championships, of course, on the TLC pay-per-view at the end of last year against Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. Asuka has been doing phenomenally in her absence, but I can't wait to see these two back together in a ring and just doing what they do best this weekend.
Yeah, it's been a little bit weird watching Asuka kind of carrying the build on her own, but she's been great and she's very entertaining and she's so ridiculous and full of life in this current persona that it kind of almost doesn't matter as much that Kairi hasn't been there. Very happy time in Kairi's life, obviously. Congratulations to her. Looking forward to the match. Former champions in Cross and Bliss. Could be a good little bout. It's been the feud's been fine. The match wasn't officially announced until Monday. So it's not had a massive amount of build, but I mean, the Women's Tag Team Championships have kind of been all but forgotten about. First defense in almost 4 months. Let's just hope it's a good one.
It's almost like the champions before that really put them in a high esteem, and people have forgotten about them since they fell off the... who had them? Oh yeah, the Iconics!
They haven't been seen since November. Where are they? What are they doing?
Much.
November? That's ridiculous. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about AEW Dynamite. So recently they've been filming, AEW been filming their TV in Daly's Place, Jacksonville, Florida. They own the arena, can do what they want to a certain extent, but not anymore. They're moving out of Daly's Place. Yesterday and today they were filming at a top secret location. This is according to Dave Meltzer on Figure 4 Online. And they've done this, number one, because filming in Daly's Place has become untenable. Hotels are closing all around Jacksonville. There's nowhere for the crew to stay. There's also a testing center been set up in a parking lot adjacent to the building. Lots of troubles there. But number two, the reason they're keeping it under wraps, the reason they're keeping it secret, is because they don't want fans potentially showing up, crowding parking lots, looking for autographs, and disobeying social distancing guidelines. So Lord knows where this taping is going down, but you have to assume with them doing it over 2 days, they're going to tape a bunch of stuff in advance. They're going to do what WWE is doing and kind of just get as much content done as possible, because you never know when you're going to get shut down. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of wacky venue they've picked out. Will it be like a traditional arena, traditional building? Will it be a parking lot? Will it be, I don't know, an ice cream shop? It could be a sugar factory. It could be anywhere. Let's see what it is.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what it is. I'm conflicted, to be honest, about them taping more and more shows in advance. I don't think, we can complain about WWE doing it and then give AEW a free pass with it all. I think right now, the sensible thing would be to just sort of cease all filming and all wrestling, if I'm perfectly honest, considering the reports that we've heard coming out of WWE. And no doubt, as much as AEW are taking similar precautions, it's not worth it in the grand scheme of things. Having said that, knowing AEW, I wouldn't put anything past them. I'm going to go with a circus tent. That's my prediction.
I mean, why don't you just throw everyone on Chris Jericho's cruise ship? I know he doesn't own the cruise ship. Are there social distancing laws on international waters? Who knows, man? I'm not saying they should do that. That'd be very irresponsible.
Indeed.
But, it'd be funny.
Exactly. Right, let's talk a little bit about Montez's Ford's insane bump that he took to a literal empty arena on Monday Night Raw. You may have seen him shout WrestleMania and then do that big flip dive. A lot of people accusing Austin Theory of not catching him as part of that, but apparently it's not Austin Theory's fault. It's not even really Montez Ford's fault. It's Seth Rollins' fault, although I don't really want to apportion blame here. Look, the reason why it happened on Monday Night Raw is basically not because Austin Theory forgot to catch Montez Ford, but Montez Ford wasn't meant to make that dive in the first place. According to Brian Alvarez on a recent episode of Wrestling Observer Live, apparently Seth Rollins was meant to trip Montez Ford to cut him off whilst he did the bounce off the hard camera side ropes before he went for the big flip dive. And when Seth Rollins wasn't there, presumably Montez Ford thought, sod it, I'll just do this ridiculous, as I'm calling it, splat back bump onto the outside. So yeah, I don't want to apportion blame here, but it's Seth Rollins' fault.
Splat back bump. It was a really horrible thing to watch because it was totally unprotected. He just properly propelled himself over the top rope and went like that on the mat. Good news is he seems to be okay. He was tweeting and joking and stuff, and obviously these tapings went down last week, so we'd have had kind of an injury update potentially coming out of that, but he seems to be fine. He's been fanning around on Twitter. He seems to be okay. By all accounts, the WrestleMania match was still taped and still went ahead. I guess that's probably the most important thing maybe coming out of this, but man, that was horrible to watch. But these things do happen in pro wrestling. It's a dangerous sport. It's just a shame he had to take that bump.
Plus, he's young. He bounces at that age. But I'm just genuinely glad that the blame has been taken off Austin Theory, because when it happened, I thought something's gone on here, because as much as Austin Theory is green, he's an experienced wrestler. He's been doing loads of stuff. Obviously, he's done a little bit in NXT. He's been wrestling in Evolve. I doubt that he would just go, no, I'm not catching you.
Yeah.
So I knew there was something going on there, but apparently Seth Rollins was meant to trip him. The main thing to take away here, as you said, Andy Murray, is everyone appears to be absolutely fine.
Everybody's fine, baby. Speaking of things that are fine,
no.
I mean, they're not. This is the opposite of that. Raw's numbers are in, and they're crap. There's no other way to put it. They are a bag of wee. An average of 1.92 million viewers across 3 hours. The third hour total of 1.65 million is the lowest in Raw history. This is down 700,000 from last year's WrestleMania Go Home show. It's very reflective of perhaps the lack of enthusiasm for Mania as a whole and the growing weediness towards these empty arena shows. A lot of people are tired of them. A lot of people don't fancy them anymore. As we always say, thanks to our man Tony Maglio over at The Wrap, momentum plus marketing equals ratings. Neither are on WWE's side at the moment. There's no momentum because of what's going on around the world, and it is impossible to market anything as attractive with what's going on around the world. So they're in a very bad situation. It's unenviable, it's tough, it's hard. They are trying. But man, this was probably always going to happen regardless of the quality of the show. It's tailed off, it's bottoming out. This is a go-home show for WrestleMania and less than 2 million people watched it, man. How do you dress that up? You don't.
You don't. It is astonishingly bad. I woke up this morning, checked Twitter, saw Brian Alvarez's tweet about that number, and I think I physically became the "please say psych" meme. I just thought, oh, it's got to be some sort of April Fool's this or something. Below 2 million is not good. Look, I know we can explain it away partially, obviously, by the current situation in the world and the fact that Raw isn't really Monday Night Raw. It's just sort of a clip show with the odd wrestling match and a lot of promos chucked in there. But regardless, the week of WrestleMania, the biggest build or biggest period, I suppose, for WWE, this is dreadful. And Andy, very quickly, do you think this could influence Vince and WWE's decision about whether or not to continue producing live episodes of Monday Night Raw going forward?
Yeah, I think there's a decent chance that they may look at this and go, oh, well, I mean, if this is the viewership it's attracting, it's not worth the exertion, it's not worth the risk to our staff members' health and so forth. Sorry, our independent contractors' health. It's a tough one to consider. I wonder how much, say, the network has in all of this is one of the things to maybe dive into with this debate. But, my personal stance, I become increasingly uneasy with these shows and their continued production every single day from a health standpoint. Maybe, as we spoke about on the podcast yesterday, and as Adam Cleary pointed out on that podcast, maybe it's just time to pack up for a few weeks, send everyone home so they can be with their families.
Right, let's move on to the final news story of the day surrounding AEW's TNT Championship Tournament. The first 4 competitors have been confirmed for it. One side of the bracket features Shawn Spears versus Cody and Darby Allin set to take on Sammy Guevara. A hell of a bracket and some big names already in the tournament, which is set to start next week on AEW Dynamite and conclude at Double or Nothing on the 23rd of May. But with the situation being as it is right now, who bloody knows when it's going to happen?
Yeah, bigger names than a lot of people might have assumed. I think when people thought secondary championship, it'll all be like lower mid-card guys with the odd upper mid-card to spice it up. But these are all names in AEW. Spears has fallen off a little bit, since the Cody match, but he has that history with Cody. He has a rep. Guevara and Allin have obviously wrestled at Revolution. They've got an ongoing rivalry. Cody's wrestled everyone in this tournament already, so there's some story stuff in that bracket as well. Interesting to see how the other side pans out. There's a lot of guys they can't use. We're not going to see Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler, I don't think, in this tournament. All due respect to those two performers. Let's just see what happens on Dynamite.
Indeed, and credit to Adam Cleary for predicting all of this, basically. Go and check out his brilliant video predicting not just the 8 competitors in this tournament, but who he thinks is going to win it. It's on the channel right now, of course. Don't forget to send us your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. We'll move on to them right now. First question today comes from Christian Grant, who says, with Roman Reigns not taking part in WrestleMania, could they work in an angle for The Fiend to take back the Universal title at WrestleMania? So you're telling me there's a chance?
Oh God, I hope not. Personal feelings towards The Fiend aside, I think they've put too much effort into building the John Cena match, acquiring all the set and the crazy props and stuff that we heard about last week. They've invested too much time and effort into that one for them to abandon it. Unless they do 2 matches for The Fiend at WrestleMania, which they might, I don't really see it happening though.
The Fiend is fighting John Cena at WrestleMania. Bray Wyatt is not wrestling anyone, so who knows?
Good point.
Second question today comes from Leanne Hamill, who says, with Roman out, what do you think about putting Gulak in the IC match and Daniel Bryan against Goldberg?
Yeah, I think Daniel Bryan versus Goldberg is the weirdest match I've ever heard, and I'm totally here for it. It's not the weirdest, but it's up there. That's something I could certainly see them going with. Daniel Bryan is absolutely tremendous and excels at absolutely everything he does. And yes, they put effort into establishing him as an IC guy, but Gulak is right there alongside him, and it could work, it could make sense, they could figure out a way to put that together. Particularly if they don't have faith in Braun, perhaps, to fill that role. Braun's not quite as explosive a performer as he was. He has suffered through them not capitalizing when he was at his hottest, so Goldberg versus Braun isn't what it would have been, say, 2 years ago. I still think they'll go with Braun, don't get me wrong, but I think it's quite feasible that we'll see some kind of swerve involving Daniel Bryan, or maybe someone else.
Interested to see how they get around the fact that if they are going to go with that, and let's say Goldberg is booked to retain the title, how on earth he's going to get Braun Strowman up for a jackhammer? I suppose it's all pre-recorded, so they just could get two lackeys to just hold Braun Strowman out, but wearing green screen suits, and then just edit them out in post or something.
Get some wires from the ceiling and winch him up,
Or just shoot it really far away and actually have him jackhammer, I don't know, Drew Gulak or something
Spike
like
Dudley,
that.
yeah.
Final question today comes from Anthony Ramos, who says, with AEW bringing a mid-card title, #TNT Championship, who should be in the final match at Double or Nothing? Anthony picks Darby Allin versus, I like this, Orange Cassidy.
I'm still going with Sammy Guevara to win this thing, so I'm putting Sammy in the final. Orange Cassidy is very feasible. He's
got to
very
be in the tournament,
over.
hasn't he?
Yeah, man, he's so over, whether you like what he does or not. The guy just clicks with... He's one of the most popular guys in the company. It's working. The act works. But I think they're going to do something big. I think that seeing Cody on one side of the bracket tells me we're getting a huge name on the other. So that means I'm going with Kenny Omega versus Sammy in the final, and I think Sammy's going to win.
I like that. I really like every pitch I've seen about Sammy Guevara winning this entire tournament. I think the Spanish God is one of the best things about All Elite Wrestling right now, and I think he'd be phenomenal. As much as I say that, I just want to see Orange Cassidy sort of not raise a belt. So who knows? Maybe MJF could be in there as well. We could get an MJF Cody final as a sort of rerun, but I don't think they're going to do that just yet. I'm gonna go with you, Sammy Guevara in the final. But I was going to say Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin. That's impossible. Make that one of the semi-finals. No, that's the quarterfinal. That's already happened. I'm so tired. I do apologise. I think it's going to be absolutely sensational, this tournament. I'm really excited. Although I do wish they'd sort of hold off until people can be back and pop for it, but there you go. Right, let's move on to today's and finally, and less an April Fool's this, if you're a fan of April Fool's pranks. Keep an eye on the channel a little bit later on, that's all I'm going to say. But it has to go to The Undertaker, who tweeted Christian... This was I felt like I was living in an alternative universe when I saw that this morning. Chris Jericho responded to someone saying, big lawsuit incoming for @Undertaker's use of ass clown. Jericho responded, hardly, he's the Undertaker. He can use as many of my catchphrases as he wants. And Undertaker responded, my bad @I am Jericho. I knew I'd heard that somewhere before. I love this.
The Undertaker on social media is something else. Have you watched a bit of Tiger King? If you've watched it at home...
I watched the first 3, yeah.
Go back and revisit Undertaker's recent Tiger post on social media. You might see a familiar face in there if you've watched some Tiger King. Puts a whole new light on the thing.
Oh my God. You know, Undertaker said he was going to have his minions or whatever he said. Teased that 2 other people were going to be there.
The Holy Trinity.
Is one of them going to be Joe Exotic?
Oh God!
I haven't seen the end of Tiger King, although I sense probably not. No spoilers. Right, let's know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Dudley Boys previewing the Wednesday Night War a little bit later on today. Plus, let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter @WhatCultureWWE. Watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray
at Andy H Murray. The H stands for husband. Carol's husband. What happened?
Well, we all know what happened, but anyway, you can follow me @Adam Wilborn. Follow us all @WhatCultureWWE. And as I said, if you like April Fool's pranks, watch out for something on the channel a little bit later on today. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.